No. Are we live?
We're live. Welcome to Live and Learn, everyone. The only show. That's it. It's the only show. I'm the
show
Spoy
that's on the
Phil,
internet. Yeah.
your host, the political guy who's not afraid to wear a hat. With me as
Who
always,
just dropped his
Hutch.
Charlie Kirk video.
Well, whoa, dude, are you trying to get me killed, Pisco?
He just dropped
You
his
trying to
Charlie
get
Kirk
me
is racist
killed,
video. I'm just
Pisco?
saying it's your your latest magnum opus. I thought people should know about it.
It is my most performing video, and I'm about to go to a
Wow.
TP USA event in 2 hours. So let's see how they feel about it if they know who I am.
So who's gonna be the new host? Ryan, are you up for it?
Speaking of which, other than Hutch, IRI, and Pisco, our favorite other hosts, we have today special guest Ryan Geddie, the only DEI hire we've ever had. My favorite disabled YouTuber because he is, guys, he is Texan.
That's true. I don't know if that's common knowledge, but Roy has seen my full form.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's deceptively tall, but he is Texan, so he's a disabled hire.
The Google overlord served me a Ryan Geddie video in the algorithm, and he was critiquing Ezra Klein. So I thought you and Pisco would get along just so great.
Yeah, Ryan, tell us about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? Your link's in the description if they want to find you after, but you got to sell yourself to the audience.
Okay, well, I am a YouTuber. I'm a tuber, as they say. I make videos, just in case you know what that is.
You've been talking to JJ McCullough too much. I can already tell. You're doing all the jisms, the JJ-isms.
But no, I'm liberal. I make liberal content. A lot of my videos it's usually a current event informed by history. That's sort of my format. So I'll take like a current event that's happening, and then I'll use it as an excuse to talk about some historical thing that I really like. So my most recent example, I talked about the elections on Tuesday, and I talked about it through the lens of the victory speeches that Spanberger, Cheryl, and Mamdani gave. And then I used that as an avenue to sort of talk about this other great speech that I really like by Mario Cuomo. That was sort of the heart and soul of that video, I think. So sort of current events informed by history and a philosophy.
So the context there is that Mamdani actually quoted Mario Cuomo in his acceptance speech, right?
Right. Yeah. So he quoted, and in case people don't know, Mario Cuomo is Andrew Cuomo's father and was governor of New York, right? So, and he was also widely speculated back in the day as a potential presidential candidate, but he never actually pulled the trigger on that. They called him Hamlet on the Hudson back in the day whenever we gave political nicknames to people that were, literary.
Old Tippecanoe. That's the one I know.
Yeah.
You know who that is?
That was that William Henry Harrison?
Wow, impressive.
What
impressive.
the fuck, man?
Old Tippecanoe and Tyler too.
You think those books are for show, Pisco?
Damn.
I almost said
crazy.
Jackson, but he was Hickory.
That's Andrew Jackson, I think, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I almost said Jackson. But yeah. No, history. I like history. I mean, I won't claim to know everything, but
no,
sure.
Ryan, you first asked to be shouted out on my ladders segment, and I watched one of your vids and was like, oh wait, there's a YouTuber who actually reads stuff, and that's why I decided to promote you. So I'm happy you're blowing up, and I'm also going to take credit for all success you have going forward.
Fair enough.
I get 10% of all ad revenue.
Well, I don't know about that, but I will give you credit. I mean, that was like I got like 500 subscribers whenever you shouted me out, which was.
Oh wait, that's it. Now I feel bad.
Same amount for me at the time because I had like 1,000 subscribers at the time.
Oh, okay, for sure. 50%
So
increase. That sounds much better on paper.
it was hard.
Hell yeah. Well, guys, let's get into it. Let's do, what do you guys want to do? Good news first? Let's talk about Tuesday first?
Let's do that. Yeah.
Let's
All
do
right.
that.
Yeah.
All right. We fucking crushed it. I forgot we hadn't talked about it, but because me and Pisco had our little circle jerk session that night, but holy shit, we like everything. Like we blew it out of the water. I think it was like 18 out of 18 possible, winnable things. We even we flipped seats in Mississippi. Like what the fuck's going on? Dems, Jesus Christ, this was great. What do we think, guys?
It shows you that the Democratic Party and their voters are highly motivated during all elections, and so the trend of increasing a voter turnout in like off-year elections, that kind of stuff, and highly engaged voters, that continues, and that people are pissed with the status quo. when it comes to cost of living, when it comes to Trump's policies, when it came to the shutdown, they were blaming the Republicans and Trump, and that the strategy of opposition to Trump and wanting stronger fighters worked across the board. The through lines, I don't think it's like strictly speaking ideological. It's discontent at the current way things are and its cost of living as through lines here, and anger and opposition to Trump. Those are the through lines. That is what connects a ideologically diverse group. I think it's a great win for progressives, and I think it's a great win for moderates. But those issues, I think, are the ones that bring it all together and what we should be happy about.
Ryan, get in there. Tell us your thoughts
about the elections.
Yeah,
I think the elections were great. I mean, really, I said this on your stream, but I think anyone who's more angry than happy, that's a Democrat at the elections needs. I mean, they have a personality problem. I think they have some sort of issue with themselves. There was something for everyone to be happy about. There was Mamdani, obviously, that's very exciting for the progressive wing of the party. And then I think, Cheryl and Spanberger were big wins as well for the more kind of moderate sort of centrist wing of the party. I mean, I think there's stuff for everyone to be happy about. So, I mean, I think it's fantastic. I think it absolutely shows that the Democratic Party has a highly engaged base who's going to turn out in elections. And I think if the electorate is more similar to what we saw on Tuesday in next year's elections, it's going to be fantastic.
Guy, where are you at?
Oh, I thought it was fantastic. Remember, polls showed in New Jersey that it was a close race, and to win by double digits was best case scenario. So it was just an exciting night, man. I don't know. I don't really see it as there was something that like everybody got something. I just see it as this is the Democratic Party, like we represent a lot of different people and we can win in a lot of different races. But I think the races, like some small races in Georgia and Pennsylvania, are very interesting too. I saw like we won a DA seat, I think in Pennsylvania, that we hadn't controlled as Democrats since the 1800s, something like that. So there was some giant signs. It was like a 50-point flip in Georgia on something. So it's not just the big races. It's some down ballot stuff too. People are looking for anybody with a Democrat next to their name and voting for them. So I don't think anything can stop that train. And that's coming for the midterms for sure.
My state Senate district shifted 16 points toward the Democrats.
Woo! It's unheard of. Those kind of changes just don't happen. And I don't think there's anything that can stop that freight train. Nothing. And I know that there's some ideas out there of some things that can, but
we'll get there. Don't worry.
We'll get into it. Yeah. Soy pill, sound off. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, basically what I said at the beginning, I was blown away by how well it went. I assumed good things would happen. I assumed that the electorate was pissed at the leadership and that, things would have a positive swing. I could not believe just how much that was like the blue wave that I was not expecting. I would not have called it. If I had known it would have been so good, I would have bet money on it. I'm just very happy about the whole thing. And to top it off, I thought I'd have to wait until at least maybe 1 a.m. or the next day for the Prop 50 in California. I think they called it in like 30 seconds after polls closed.
Yeah,
like not even close. That got me rock hard. So yeah, I'm happy about it. I'm Dem pilled.
I do want to add one last thing about the Mamdani win. I was surprised Andrew Cuomo got as much of the vote as he did. To me, that was something that wasn't talked about much, but that is a little concerning. I'm wondering if like Pisco is worried about that or anything.
I'm not really concerned about that. I think that it is a true fact that Mamdani underperformed by, 4 or 5 points from the polling average. That is true. But I attribute that to Republic strategic voting and the fact that Trump told basically Republicans to go vote for Cuomo. And so you saw an underperformance by Curtis Lewa that was transferred over to Cuomo. And so I think that's perfectly explainable. And overperformed like, the gold standard, whatever, for the 2024 election, Atlas Intel poll, whatever, by 3 or 4 points. And so the polls, I would agree, it's more impressive that Spanberger et al. Were able to overperform by like incredible margins. That was very, very impressive. But we have to keep in mind, Mamdani was running against another Democrat, and there was strategic voting on both sides. And so I don't really think it's that of note. I think it's still an impressive victory and a mandate.
Yeah. I mean, people are saying, oh, how dare the Republican Sliwa not drop out and support the Democrat or the independent Cuomo. But even if you added their votes together, I don't think they would have beaten Mamdani. I think that's just cope.
I mean, I think the attacks that he only got 51% of the vote are, I think a lot of that is bad faith because we're dealing with like with a more split field. But these are just the numbers that we're working with. And certainly he has a lot of opportunity to build trust with his voters. That said, what he accomplished is nothing short of remarkable. I don't think anybody would deny that. This guy came from total obscurity, basically. I mean, I don't know how well known he was in New York politics. Maybe he was, more known than I think, but for him to come from like a 1-2% in the beginning to, beating a political dynasty is pretty insane. And there's something he's doing now that is also incredibly savvy. I don't know if you guys saw, but I think he's doing a 501c4 where it's kind of like what Obama was doing. Ryan, you're nodding your head, so you probably know more about this than I do.
Yeah, I don't know. Is he the one that's actually doing it? I know what you're talking about, but it's some like DSA affiliated people. If you remember, well, I mean, this is ancient history at this point. So I don't remember it personally, but I've read about it. Obama tried to set up, I think it was called like Obama for America, to like keep the grassroots people organized after the election. But it ended up basically not happening because DNC people didn't like having basically an independent power base outside the party. And then like, it was complicated because who was going to run this thing? And then also they were just worried that it was going to end up hurting more than it helped. And so it kind of went nowhere. But what Mamdani's trying to do, I forget what it's called, but they're setting up a similar situation to keep the grassroots organized to push for the agenda.
Yeah.
And it's run by some DSA people.
I think it's called Our Movement. I could be wrong, but it's something like that. If you go to like ourmovement.com or something like that. But, he's showing pretty much right away that he is not going to rest on his laurels. And he seems like he is going to actually fight for these policies to happen. Universal childcare, that's a huge lift. I mean, if you were to get something like that, that would be really monumentous. I don't know if he can pull that off, but at least we know that, or at least his supporters know that he's going to go in there and start fighting. And it looks like he's withholding his endorsement for Hochul for the time being, which I think is a bit fun to unpack if we wanted to do that. But yeah,
I would say Lena Khan was a great surprise, picking her, Biden's former FTC commissioner, who was like one of the rock stars of his administration. Having her as the head of his transition, I believe, is her official role. That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
I just also want to say that, I told my stream that I wasn't going to be happy unless it was a bloodbath. And what ended up happening was like even exceeded those expectations. I don't know if I had those expectations. I went into it like really hopeful that we were going to have a really good night, just because the 5-alarm fire has been sounding throughout the whole year across all these special elections. And that night was basically just a continuation of that trend.
Yeah, and I was skeptical of your and IRI's optimism, but man, you guys absolutely, vindicated to 1,000% from the special election projections.
Yeah, I think Pisco was right on the money when he said that we're dealing with when we're talking about the Democratic voter base. I think it's really apparent that the voter base is extremely pissed off, and it's going in all kinds of different directions. Dem leadership, Trump, but they're also highly engaged, and that's been kind of the story throughout the entire year.
And what's his name? Jay Johnson for Attorney General won. So I want to say one more time, Jay Jones. Fuck them kids. I don't give a fuck what he said.
Yeah, I had to come across and say, look, I have my preferences, but ultimately he won. All right, and now I'm behind him. And fuck them kids. We gotta get behind the winner. All right, that's the Dem.
Basically, every Republican across the entire country right now that is serving in an R+10 district or state is nervous. They feel vulnerable. Not every single one, but most of them now feel like fuck because they're seeing these margins. Yeah.
It paints you a picture. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead, Pisco.
I was saying, to paint you a little bit of a picture, it's impossible to cope and say, well, these elections didn't matter because a lot of these were significant elections in grounds in which Trump had gained to have his impressive victory in 2024. New Jersey, right. Virginia, he had got it within 6 points. New Jersey got it within 6 points. And even under Biden, the previous race, I think it was in like 3 points between Phil Murphy. So these are places where Republicans have made gains, and so they've regressed a lot. That's hugely significant. And you could see the fear. you could smell the fear about like what does a post-Trump era even look like. Trump himself was calling for ending the filibuster. Trump was saying that we lost because I wasn't there, and so there's a recognition, I think, and even some little rumblings of recognition that the Republican Party needs a plan for post-Trump. Marjorie Taylor Greene is trying to make a lane for herself. JD Vance, in the context of this civil war between the groypers and I guess the non-groypers, the like anti-Semites, the more I guess traditional MAGA at this point. I like even using the term traditional MAGA is a little odd, but in that context, JD Vance is trying to like make a lane for himself, and so I think that these elections were a wake-up call for Democrats, but also for Republicans to realize they need to think about a post-Trump future, both in terms of like even if he does quote unquote run again against the Constitution. But even just if he were able to do that, right? Like he's a 79, 78-year-old man, and he's not going to live forever.
It's kind of funny that the Groyper stuff is happening so publicly a week after we had a guest on who pressed me on like a hypothetical segregationist within the Democratic Party. Like, would I accept that kind of coalition? And then you look over at the Republican side of the aisle and they're literally having this conversation about literal Nazis. So like, that's just funny to me. But yeah.
And by the way, I just want to say I looked into the text message controversy again. I went back and read I think it's National Review article or something, and he basically said that these Republicans will never change their mind unless they feel it personally. So he's like, I hope that the wife of this lawmaker, her children die in her arms due to gun violence, so she'll change her mind. That's basically what he said. But Republicans twisted it and are like, he wanted to kill Republican children. No. So I just want to put that out there.
It's still not great, but
I don't think you
don't need to linger on that.
Leave it alone.
I honestly think that this last week has been I honestly think that this last week has been kind of uniting because like last week it felt like everybody ate, like the progressive candidates ate, the moderate candidates ate, and then this week the progressives, the leftists, the moderates, the centrists, it seems like everybody is just raging against the Democratic Party. So there's an oddly kind of uniting kind of vibe about that. And I did feel like last week did help a little bit with some of that friction between the kind of warring factions within the Democratic Party, kind of like muted that a little bit. And then as we go into this next week, we'll see what happens with that. But
yeah, I mean, all the Dems won. Supreme Court has said, no, we're not revisiting Obergefell. Woke is back, guys. Woke is back. It's here to stay, and you can't kill woke. But I did want to cover one. Go ahead. All right. But before
I was going to say, Kyle Kalinske had a funny meme with him smoking the cigar. That was pretty funny.
I did like that. But my question for you guys, because we touched on this a little bit, and we always talk about like, what are the Dems going to learn from Mamdani in terms of like, do we need to shift more left? I don't want to cover that. What I do want to cover is something about his campaign that I thought was pretty impeccable. I think he very rarely was negative towards anything. He wasn't like super attacky. He wasn't, hey, like these people are ruining your life, or like I'm anti-Israel. It was very much like, I'm positive. These are the things I'm fighting for. If you try to like do that, what country are you visiting? Gotcha. I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do for New York. Should we have this more like less mudslinging, more just policy focused positivity campaigns? Do you guys think that's a viable option?
He was definitely critical of Israel and Cuomo, but he didn't center that on as his campaign. Like he was definitely like he was definitely pushing like his kind of like 3 or 4 core issues as the central planks of his campaign. And I do think that's a winning strategy.
I think different things work for different people. I mean, I think for Mamdani, he's a very, I think people should just try and not be somebody that they're not. I don't know if it would work for Mamdani if he was trying to be this like fire and brimstone type of guy. But, some people it probably would work for. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people who like Gavin Newsom, because he's like just mean, he's nasty and mean. And like, I don't know. I mean, maybe that works. Maybe positivity is the best thing in every circumstance. I think Mamdani was right to do it for him. I don't think he would have done well if he was a fire and brimstone type.
We've seen his fire and brimstone thing. Like, there's clips of him, screaming at people. What was he screaming at Tom Homan, or was it? That
was great.
Yeah, and it's like people like that as well. But he didn't need that, and it seemed like he tried to move away from that kind of like angry, shouty personality, even though he clearly was good at it. But yeah, I agree. I mean, we can have both. We can have the attack dogs and then the people that sit back and preach love and kindness and policy. I mean, well, yeah, why not?
He had a line that go ahead, Pisco.
I was just gonna say, and Gavin is taking the lane of like anti-Trump after initially kind of doing the more let's build bridges route, he's gotten a lot of pull by being the anti-Trump lane specialist at this point. And you can see, I think recent polls have him like 19% in terms of 2028 polling. That's doing well. So Mamdani, I think, is picking a lane that's more of a positive project, more ideological, less, even though he's oppositional to Trump and certainly among the three candidates for mayor, the most anti-Trump. I think his is more ideological. Gavin Newsom's is more anti-Trump, and then the moderates have some kind of like, common sense affordability stuff. But I think that there's plenty of routes for these different candidates to pick an authentic lane for themselves, one that they feel comfortable in. And so I do think that there needs to be some flexibility, some play on the joints for people to just be themselves. And that's why, as we'll get to, I find the recent stuff that's happening in the Senate so troubling.
I'm glad that Mamdani's opened up a way for people to be nice, and still do well. Because I think for a while you saw a lot of like 70-year-old guys who were just like their staff was telling them they need to start cursing more or something.
Oh yeah,
that was awful. That was a terrible era, and to some extent we're still in it. But it's always super awkward whenever you see like an ancient old man who's like, shit.
The most famous example is that one representative that said that we have to, or was she a senator that said we have to fuck Trump? Who said that?
I forgot her name. We have to fuck Trump. Yeah.
Oh, I don't normally curse, but we have to fuck Trump. It's like, wait, what the fuck did you just say?
Those Repubs just simply don't have the riz.
But I was gonna say though, like he definitely, I think, ran the campaign relatively nice. I think that was like the focus, but he was pretty laced with contempt in that speech that he gave. I mean, there was like some subtext there, but when he said, I don't
want to hear about Cuomo.
Yeah,
no, but the thing is, Hutch,
last time I utter his name, I'm not criticizing for Pisco, just to be clear.
I know not. I'm building off of that because I think that you just mentioned that there's subtext there in context, and I think that informs it. I also, frankly, thought I gave it a B, the speech. I think it could have been a little bit shorter and a little bit more, at least just sounding more open. But that's a minor dig. But yeah, I think that anger at Cuomo is informed by what a shitty and mean-spirited campaign that Cuomo ran that everyone is recognizing. Like Cuomo is race baiting, baiting about terrorism shit and doing the like most sneaky tactics, in my opinion, or most like bullshit tactics, and attacking Mamdani in ways that I think were fucked. And so I don't really have a problem with Mamdani hitting back after it because this dude's a scumbag. Cuomo's a scumbag. I'm glad he lost, and so I don't really shed a tear for him. And so I think, yeah, if Cuomo had run a more honorable campaign, I would be like, yo, Mamdani, you don't need to do that. But given what happened, I have no problem with it.
Yeah, y'all are nicer than me. If I was writing that speech for him, I would have. I mean, if anything, I think he deserved a bit of a triumphal, victory lap. Maybe it wasn't the best from a political perspective, but I can see why it happened, and it felt good to watch, frankly.
My only concern was him bringing up democratic socialism, and it's not because I'm against it. I just don't understand why. Like, it just brings a whole bunch of negative feelings into it. Like, you're not gonna win. You're not gonna change like how people feel about democratic socialism. It just felt unnecessary, and like he like picked up a boulder for no reason, just carrying around some weight. So I'm curious if any of you guys got that vibe too. Like, why are you talking about that? Who cares?
I think he's unapologetic, and I think in some ways, Ira, it's in line with like your attitude. Even though if in this moment you can understand, I can understand the political machinations and like your pragmatic look at it. But like you, Ira, are unapologetically a Democrat. You like aren't gonna sit here and like apologize and basically be someone you're not. And you're not, if someone is gonna like talk down to you or condescend to you, that is something that I feel like IRI will never accept. And be like, no, fuck it. Yeah, I'll support fucking Jay Jones. Yeah, I understand that he had some fucking shit, but I don't care. I'm unapologetically Democratic. And so there is, I think, an attitude that needs to be taken by a lot of Democrats. And sometimes I'm like overly apologetic, overly, giving concessions, that kind of stuff sometimes. Where fuck you guys. Fuck you guys. This isn't a normal standard political time. And I'm not going to apologize for what I am. I'm not going to apologize for and like live to some standard that you're never going to live by. And so I think people are tired of the pretense. They're tired of the curated talking points era. And so to me, I think it's something that even if you can, see the political downside to it, him just being like, yeah, that is what I am. We are that. We are 100% that. The kind of Haas infrared. I don't know if you guys know these references. The Mongolia thing. That to me is, I think, if not the specific of the socialism or whatever, but that like attitude of fuck you guys, this is what I am, and you voted for me. I think is endearing.
I did get a $20 super chat from Grassroots Hegemon who said conservative anti-populist. I guess that's he's saying that's what he is. I'm thrilled overall. Both sides have a routing out to do, and I look forward to high-fiving down the line. And then Barabas with $5 said, despite losing the election, Sliwa still won in the end in his own way because Cuomo lost, and that's all that matters.
Sliwa hated fucking Cuomo, and you could tell.
I'm just but I just don't understand what it means to be a democratic socialist. Like, I don't really know why what he's trying to say with that.
He's trying to
his
define
policies are not democrat. It's not democratic socialism, whatever that is. Like, he's just trying to get universal childcare. They have that in the state of New Mexico. Like, I don't think they're democratic socialists in New Mexico.
I think the rise of the label of democratic, and frankly, I think Mamdani is just a socialist. I think he would fully be on board with socialist policies if he could do them. I think the rise of democratic socialism as a popular label, even among people who don't necessarily have much of an ideological, I don't want to say education, but they're not very ideological people necessarily, I think has to do with the fact that social liberalism, which is the sort of FDR kind of liberalism, American grown sort of strain of that kind of politics is so dead, or was so dead for so long. And so I think people look to democratic socialism as the outlet for that, because it kind of is. This is a line that I talk about sometimes, but democratic socialism and social liberalism are sort of approaching the same point from different directions. They came out of different contexts. Social democracy came out of European socialism, kind of giving up on the whole revolution aspect of things, and social liberalism came out of capitalism, giving up on the more laissez-faire doctrinaire side of things. And so it's sort of like that phenomenon where animals evolve into crabs over time.
Terms evolve, terms get new meanings. And I think that if we can just see how they define it themselves. Like if Econoboy was running for RIP Econoboy, previous host of Live and Learn, if he had run for like mayor and he said, this is what democratic socialism means to me, then it sounds like if anyone who takes issue with that is either taking issues with the ideas that he's espousing, but IRI you're not, or two, taking issue with like the label. And if the label itself is like problematic, then, and that's the only point, like this kind of semantic, pragmatic PR point, I think that has a lot less purchase than the kind of implications that some would try to ascribe to, which is like communism, end of democracy, authoritarianism, gulags.
Yeah. I have no problem with his policies. I think they're great. I think he can go even further. Like I said, New Mexico is going to have universal child care soon. So I don't have a problem with any of the policies at all. I think they're great. I'm a progressive. I just don't know why he's so adamant about, I'm a democratic socialist. It's like, relax, chief. Like, you're good, bro. We don't like, what are you trying to do, man? Like,
I think the big question mark that I definitely have when it comes to Mamdani is I am so curious to see where he goes with his administration. I want to know if he was hiding his power level, and if he just goes fucking balls to the wall. Because I agree with you, Ryan. Like, I think he is a socialist, but I also think he's pragmatic. At least that's how he ran his campaign. And so I don't have a problem if somebody's a socialist as long as they're pragmatic. Like, what do you do when you have power? Like, how do you spend your capital, and what do you get done? And so, yeah, I guess that's the question I want to ask you guys is like, do you think he was hiding his power level and he's just going to go full tanky with it? Or do you think he's going to sort of like go in the Obama direction of things?
I mean, I think Mamdani obviously realizes that he has limitations insofar as how much he has to work with like Albany, and like he can't just unilaterally pass everything he wants to. I don't think it would, even if he was a secret communist or whatever. I mean, he has very left-leaning policies. It would behoove him not at all to like mask off and be like, haha, I was way more left, and then not be able to get anything done. I think he realizes the power that he has and what he can do with it. And he's going to, do his best, just like in this campaign, to push for what he wants, but he's not going to try to push too far because he realizes his limitations. For
just
sure.
Real quick though, he was not particularly secretive about his power level before.
Yeah.
Like you can find videos of him 2 years ago talking about how seizing the means of production was the ultimate goal of democratic socialism. So
Sure.
it's
I
not
just
like
don't
when we
think he's
say
going
like
to push for
secret
that politically, is what I'm saying.
I
Okay,
think
yeah.
that's what he believes. I mean, and I think the same about most people that call themselves democratic socialists that are politicians. I give them the benefit of thinking that they've thought through what that label means. And I think that, if you're calling yourself any kind of socialist as a politician in American politics, I am imagining that term probably means something to you, because I don't think it's an electoral benefit of any kind. So I mean, I think he's a socialist. But I don't think that he's going to be, some sort of Bolshevik in New York. I think democratic socialism is perfectly compatible with democracy, even if it's not my ideology.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Should we get to it?
All right.
I'll leave it alone. But yeah, no, I just want to say I do support his policies. I like what he's pushing for.
I'll leave it at this, Ira. I mean, like, he's a Dem sock insofar as saying that, like, when I say, I guess I don't know if I identify as one, because everyone always tells me I'm not when I say I am one. But it's like whatever they're doing in Europe, right? Like, when they're redistributing more money, when they have better social welfare programs, if we do that here, if we do that in New Mexico, and you don't call yourself a sock dem or a Dem sock or whatever fucking adjective comes first, whatever, that's what I'm for. He seems to identify with those policies in that way. Cool. If someone else comes and does it and doesn't call themselves that, whatever. That's just what I want. And as long as we get closer to that, I'm happy. I don't worry about the label, unless, like Ryan mentioned, it's poison, which I do think more people are inclined to be adverse to the label socialist now, although we are shifting the window a little bit.
So Dazudania in my chat, who works in politics, said Mamdani did pick 2 members of his transition team that are more mainstream Dems. So I think that's somewhat of a good sign. So there you go.
You mean he cucked out to the Dem establishment?
I mean, he's definitely playing the Game of Thrones. I don't know if you guys heard about the call with what's his name? Lander?
Yeah, I heard about that. And politics is brutal, man. That was rough to read about. I thought that they had such a great relationship.
What happened?
Throw him under the bus? What happened?
Summarize.
I have no idea. I haven't heard this.
You want to take it?
Well, so what I read was that Lander was angling to get a pretty high up position within the administration. I can't remember which one it was. Maybe Ryan, you know which one it was?
Deputy mayor.
Yeah, something like that. And I think Mamdani called Lander on election night or the next day and told him he wouldn't be getting a job in the administration because he knew that Lander wasn't going to settle for anything middling. He wanted like a really significant position. And so, Lander, who I don't know much about New York politics, but I know that guy, really, stuck his neck out for Mamdani and helped really push him over the edge. And then, he fucking sticks the shiv in. But hey, that's politics, right? Like, I'm not saying that it should have gone a different way, but yeah,
I thought Lander was planning to run for Goldman seat.
I think that's what he's going to do now.
Yeah. He was.
I imagine that was his backup plan the whole time, though. Frankly.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Well, we've had our warm up of mostly agreeing. I think we can move into the shutdown, guys. I'll introduce it this way. I am not sold either way of this is definitely good or bad, but based on what I'm seeing, it seems as if Democrats have caved and said our win is that we'll get a vote on the subsidies in December, that we have no guarantee of it passing. So I'm open to the more optimistic Chuck Schumer defenders in our little squad here to tell me why this is going to work out. I want it to work out, but I'm leaning towards doom pilled right now, guys. It really feels like we got nothing out of this. So tell me about it. What's up?
Oh, I have some thoughts. All right, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to open up to our guest first because it's going to be tough to get a word in. You start throwing blows. What do you think, Ryan?
It's disappointing that we couldn't get a guarantee for a vote in the House. Frankly, I didn't expect to get the healthcare subsidies back in the end. I assumed Democrats would break before then. So that was sort of already priced in for me. I wish that they had a strong enough chin to get a vote on the record in the House, because now it really does kind of feel like, well, what's the point of this? Because, I mean, they're just not even going to take it up. It does kind of feel like, what was it all for? It feels like Trump threatened to nuke the filibuster, and some Democrats who enjoy having a more interesting job than they would in the House, frankly, and more power than they would in the House because of the filibuster, decided that was a bridge too far. And so we're going to, settle. I wish that they really pushed for a vote in the House. That was what I was hoping for, because I did not really think that we were going to get the healthcare subsidies back. So I guess I just wish they had a little bit stronger of a chin.
Well, let me put out the positive then, and I'll see what you guys think. So, number one, I agree. I don't think we were ever going to get like the ACA subsidies extended. That seemed like it was always a big ask, that had nothing to do with funding the government, and it was a hell of a request. That being said, you brought up a great point, Ryan. The filibuster. We have Donald Trump now advocating for getting rid of the filibuster. That to me is a huge step forward. And whenever it comes to politics, I'm always about incrementalism, and we got to take steps forward. And it takes time to get there. And now we have Donald Trump convincing a lot of people we should get rid of the filibuster, which I think is great. Number two, we controlled the narrative for the first time in like a year and pushed healthcare to the front. And we're leading on that. And now the American people know that the Democrats are the ones fighting to lower their health insurance premiums, their healthcare costs moving into next year, where this is going to be a huge issue no matter what happened here. So I see that as a giant win no matter what happens in the end here. And so I don't see this as a huge loss. I really don't. And these are people's lives that are being affected by the government shutdown. These are people going out a paycheck. I went through the airport this week and I was looking at these TSA agents thinking, you guys are really getting fucked right now. Imagine going without 2 paychecks, and the 42 million people on SNAP benefits, 70% of them are kids, the elderly, permanently disabled. And this is asking a lot of these people to keep going with this shutdown. So I understand why these senators did what they did. I don't support it, and it is what it is. But I'm trying to see the positive, and I see us winning the narrative on health insurance costs.
I don't understand what you just said there. All right. So you said, I understand why they did it. I don't support it. So it's fair to say you don't agree with these 8 senators voting the way
I don't
they
agree
did,
with.
correct? Okay.
I do not agree with the 8 senators. I wouldn't have voted like that, but I'm still seeing a lot of positives that came out of this fight.
You're saying that there's a silver lining here, but to be clear,
Yes.
your position is vote no, right? This was a
Absolutely,
mistake.
yeah.
Okay.
I
understand why.
As your fellow establishment shell, I want to push back on one thing you said, which was I don't see the whole Trump pushing for a filibuster thing as a tangible win at all. Like I don't think that really moved the needle in any direction. The Washington Examiner, which is right-wing outlet, they actually reached out to each and every Republican senator, and 8, I think, Republicans didn't get back to them. So that's like the group of people that were just afraid to say anything to piss off Trump, I'm assuming. And there were 24 Republican senators that were willing to go on the record after they lost the election and after Donald Trump has been pressuring them. They were willing to go on the record and say, we are not going to support getting rid of the filibuster. Yeah, so I think that shows you right there that they were never even close to folding on the filibuster, even though if they did, that would have been insanely beneficial to Democrats. And this is a clown show. This is a Republican Party, but these are generally like intelligent people. I think they can understand that if they got rid of the filibuster, that would have massively benefited Democrats, in my opinion.
Hutch, I was watching your stream this morning at the gym, and I think you said something that I agree with, which was, if Trump is so good at finagling and mobbing his way through the party and being like, you have to do this or we're primarying you, and if this was not enough to get these 24 senators plus however many, this is clear that they were not going to fold on this. This is like, no, we cannot let the Democrats have a no filibuster control next midterm or next presidential election. They will make Puerto Rico a state. They will make DC a state. It will fuck us forever. Huh?
I hope we do it anyway.
Well, I hope we do too. I guess we're going to need more than 60, but the idea is like, even Trump couldn't push these people to do this, it seems. So I don't know necessarily if that was a win for us.
I just want to say one more thing, and then Pisco, you can take over. But I just want to ask you guys, we're all very engaged in politics. I was definitely aware of the Medicaid cuts when the One Big Beautiful Bill stuff was being passed. How many of you guys found out about specifically the tax credits expiring because of this shutdown fight? I'm not ashamed to raise my hand and say I didn't know.
I didn't know they were gonna expire when they were gonna expire until that was told to us. But I don't know why.
No, we do, because it was brought up during the One Big Beautiful Bill fight and the CBO even scored it and talked about how many people are going to lose their health insurance because of those expiring subsidies.
They talked about that, but definitely the focus back then was on the Medicaid cuts. And so
nobody was talking about it.
When I polled my audience, and my audience is super engaged in politics, if they're watching one of my streams, they're probably more engaged than like 90% of people that consume political stuff. And in my stream, it was a little less than half didn't know about the tax credit issue. And what are we even talking about? We should like clearly define that, just in case anybody in chat doesn't even know what we're talking about. But like the ARP that Biden signed into law in 2021, they basically enhanced the ACA subsidies, and they expanded like ACA subsidies to like a ton of people in the middle income bracket. And they basically erased cost for a lot of low income people that were a part of the marketplace or whatever. And that expired in 2023. They extended it with the IRA until the end of this year. And what's happening right now is the Republicans are just letting that lapse. And so the fact that like so many people were made aware of this issue, I think that is valuable. So even though we didn't get any concessions, and I'm going to say, and then I'll pass it over, I'm sorry. I'm going to say that I don't agree that they should have given up just yet. I think they should have stretched it out a little bit longer. But I am not comfortable with just an indefinite shutdown, and just the amount of pain that would cause basically defeats the purpose of what we're fighting for, in my opinion. But that's my silver lining. They raised the salience in the awareness of this issue. This issue will be a liability in January for Republicans. It's not going away. They're still going to have to deal with the anger and the outrage from the pain that people feel.
Here's my fundamental problem with the cases that Hutch and I just laid out, and I agree with a lot of what they said, is those silver linings, those benefits are independent of the decision that we're evaluating. Right? Those benefits were locked in when the Democrats decided for this to be an issue and to actually have the shutdown fight. And so those benefits are locked in regardless of whether or not you choose to bend the knee now and cave now. Now, to be clear, every single person on this Live and Learn panel has said they are against what these 8 senators did. Not just us, by the way. Every single one of us says that this was a bad thing to do. Presumably, it was a bad thing to do for a reason, right? Presumably, you guys think it was bad to do because of reasons. And we're not the only ones, right? Gavin Newsom is against it. J.B. Pritzker is against it. All of the base people in Congress are against it. Bernie Sanders, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The entirety
Chuck Schumer is against
of
it.
the official position of Chuck Schumer is that he's against it. Jeffrey's official position is that he's against it. So in order to say that you're in support of this action, you have to be going against both Jeffrey's and Schumer's official position and everyone else that Democrats have been saying are base, not just elected representatives, Brian Tyler Cohen, Dave Packman, everyone based is against. And the reason is obvious. The reason is obvious. One, it's a huge undercut to Democrats' negotiating credibility. Everyone knows now that the Democrats will bend whenever you just hold hostage, like Trump is doing right now, illegally withholding SNAP funding. You couldn't ask for a more optical benefit for Democrats, where he's going to the Supreme Court saying, I'm allowed to illegally suspend and not pay out SNAP benefits, even though Congress specifically allocated contingency funds for these kinds of situations. He himself, Trump, acknowledged that the shutdown was hurting Republicans, because obviously it was, because they're in power. Trump acknowledged that Republicans have the power to stop it. And so why are we doing this? Why are we giving Trump an out? Why are we, taking implicit responsibility for the shutdown? Now it fucking looks like the Democrats were cooking up this shutdown right before an election. That's what it looks like. And then beyond that, even if it were the optimal time to drop it right now, the optimal time is to right now relent. Why? Why wouldn't you get a consensus among your caucus? So now it looks like a fucking disaster, just like in March, because everyone's yelling at leadership and at these 8 scapegoats that they've put up. This can't be optimal, that we have Democrats themselves like criticizing their own and causing friction right after a fucking election W. What? We can't have a fucking agreement among the caucus on messaging after this so that we're all unified? That couldn't happen, even if this were the optimal time to drop the fight. And they put out these old geezers who no one is excited about, who are all going to either retire or up for re-election not until 2028. It looks so phony and so fake. And if you believe Tim Kaine, who came out and said, we're not the only ones behind closed doors, there's more people who are thankful. That's Tim Kaine, who was probably specifically chosen as a scapegoat couldn't take the heat and now is saying, yeah, everyone else is lying to you. That behind the closed doors, there are more people who are lying to the American people and their own Democratic base because they don't trust them. And that's the issue. When Tim Kaine says there are more like us, who knows if we're getting the truth? Because fundamentally, there's a disconnect between leadership in the Senate, leadership among the Democratic establishment. Here, I'm defining that as the leadership in both Congress, houses of Congress, and the voters. And that's clear. And so this is a fucking huge fumble, letting the gas off and letting Trump have a W when they're responsible, justifiably responsible, and at the same time, not getting your messaging ducks in a row and signaling that you're lying to the American people and to your Democratic base. Fucking disaster.
There's definitely more senators. There's definitely more senators, and these are definitely scapegoats. I don't think that's even a question. I think that I really think that what happened is Trump made it about the filibuster, and some Democrats got cold feet because fundamentally having a filibuster makes it more fun and interesting to be a senator, and it makes their jobs more important, and it makes their individual votes more meaningful. And so I think they decided that this was not something that they were going to tolerate. I think that it had nothing to do. It had something to do with like SNAP, but I think what tipped it over was that Trump started to make it about the filibuster, and some Democrats got nervous. And I bet that there's more than 8. I bet that these are just the 8 that they put up.
Well, I mean, what's your overall take on this, Ryan?
The overall, whether it's good or bad that we,
Yep.
I think it's bad that we stopped it now. I think we should have held out for a guaranteed vote in both houses. I think that should have been what we held out
for. How long? How long would you have been open to keeping the government shut down?
I don't know. I don't have an end date. I mean, I think that that's a pretty reasonable. I think that that's a pretty reasonable thing that we could have gotten eventually. I'm not sure I could give you like
a bottom line.
Another month.
I just want to say, even if you don't agree with like that, that it shouldn't be indefinite. I think that you should be willing to do it indefinitely. Just to be clear, that's where I stand. But even if you don't, we should at least have an agreement within the caucus of when that date is. So it's not like in the middle of Sunday night, right? In Sunday night, the dead of night, so that people don't fucking do it. 8 to the specific amount of senators that you needed to get over the filibuster, and all of them are hand selected. Couldn't you, if there has to be a date end, and I think it should be indefinite, couldn't we agree on it? Couldn't we have done it in a way that it's not like this sneaky thing in the world?
Wait, hold on. Before you jump in,
hand selected.
We should get Soy Pill in here, because let's get everybody's take, and then we can do the free for all.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is like, what was really the point of the shutdown if you weren't going to get any guarantees in the first place? I agree with IRI. I mean, this is optically good for the Democrats, but like, keep doing it, right? Like, this was hurting the Republicans. They were hemorrhaging support. Like, if Chuck Schumer was right about the fact that we need to do this when Trump is at an all-time low, then keep it up, because the longer this goes, the more people suffer, the more they're going to blame the people in power who are not allowing, the Americans to have what most people want. And people like Newsom, and I think other Democratic governors, could do the thing where they're saying, look, we're going to utilize our National Guard. We're going to utilize our state's resources to alleviate the SNAP, repercussions, because we give a shit about these people, but we are not going to stop the shutdown because we need to have some sort of win, some sort of guarantee. And right now it looks like we didn't really get anything guaranteed. That upsets me a little bit. And like I said, I'm open to the idea that this could work out in the end. I was, skeptical of the Schumer idea in March, and IRI and Hutch proved me wrong on that. So I'm happy there, but I don't know if this is going to hold out to midterms. I don't know if people are going to remember it as much. I hope it does, but I'm very skeptical of it. So
that's my worry.
You guys think it's going to depress turnout? IRI, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off before.
No, I want to say, Pisco, I was nodding along to what you're saying because I agree with you on most of that stuff, man. But here's the thing. It was always a lifeline to extend the ACA subsidies for Trump. This would have been a blessing for him. This is now going to be a liability, and they're going to get completely fucked over people's health insurance premiums going up. A lot of the people took advantage of these subsidies are in red states like Florida and Texas. And politically, it's a gift for the Democrats to not extend the subsidies. I care about my fellow Americans, so I wanted to see it get done, and I thought it was worth fighting for. But in the end, if it doesn't work out, it's a huge gift for the Democrats going to the midterms. And now we've positioned ourselves as the leaders fighting to bring down people's health insurance costs. So we will benefit politically tremendously.
But the thing is, the reason why I don't take heart from that, IRI, and I think it's true, is that's priced in whether you fight or not, right? Like, that the fact that Democrats raised this issue, I agree, that's really good. And they did bring like, but the thing is, that's true regardless of the direction you take to keep fighting and having your bottom line that you said publicly. And again, you should never like publicly have a bottom line and then go back on it, because then you lose. That's one of the reasons why it's taco, right? Because Trump will set out a bottom line and no one really believes it, right? Like, and it's like whatever. So we have no credibility. But the thing that you're talking about, the benefits electorally, were going to happen whether or not we continued.
I disagree. If we didn't pick this fight, it wouldn't have happened. I just say I'll give
no. I mean, when I say continue, I mean after the shutdown fight, when we had this fight, right? The benefits to electorally of the strategy, right, are going to be priced in regardless of whether you take this vote, right? So if
but maybe we would have got what Ryan is saying. We would have got a commitment for the House or anything further. Any further advancement of extending the ACA subsidies would have benefited Trump and the Republicans if they actually got it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. For the record, I don't think that they would have ever actually voted for that. The only reason I think that it would have been nice to get a vote commitment in the House, I would have been comfortable. I guess I should clarify. I don't think that the Democrats should feel any obligation to vote to fund this government. If the Republicans want to continue governing like this, they can kill the filibuster and do it by themselves for all I care. I really don't think that it's the Democrats should feel an obligation. If Republicans want to offer some compromise, which is what the filibuster, which I don't really support in principle in the first place, is intended to do, then we can talk about it. And I would have been comfortable with funding the government if they had given a guaranteed vote in the Senate and a guaranteed vote in the House, because then at least we can get everyone on the record and then we can campaign on an actual vote. So that's why I'm disappointed with where they chose to have it now. But I don't think the Republicans were ever actually going to vote to extend the subsidies.
Wait, put that back up on the screen. That was very triggering.
You know why I put it up there.
I mean, we can have differences of opinion about the strategy around the shutdown. That's fine. That doesn't trigger me at all. I understand why Pisco is upset. I disagree that it's tenable to, be prepared to have it play out indefinitely, but I understand where he's coming from. And I'm not even going to say that there's zero like political logic to that. But just to be absolutely clear, the Republicans are in control of the government right now. They control the executive branch. They control the legislative branch. The Democrats do not have the power to extend these ACA tax credits. That power rests entirely with Republicans. And if they refuse to negotiate during a shutdown, that does not absolve them from being 1,000% responsible for these tax credits expiring. And if you're one of these guys that's going out here and making the case that the Democrats are responsible for this happening, you're doing free MAGA propaganda.
Well, hush. Let me defend the chatter. They're not saying this is Democrats' fault. They're saying this doesn't feel like a win from the Democrats. I wish the Democrats did more. Not the Republicans are totally absolved of any and all blame for that. I don't think this is your Democrats.
No, but they're also like dismissing. They're dismissing the value of raising awareness of an issue like this, which is to me kind of ridiculous.
I think that this is triggering me, Hutch. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I understand what you're saying, that there are some people who seem to think that like magically Democrats can do this, but I think that you're not taking it at the strongest, that argument. That argument, I think, is based on force them to make an unpopular decision. You have them by the balls because there are three options. Option one, continue the shutdown, which they're being blamed for. Fucking winner for Democrats. Option number two, bend.
We should pause on that.
Bend on. I just wanted to get all the three options so people see it.
Okay,
one is continue the shutdown. Two is bend on the premiums and bend on the subsidies. Option number three, nuke the filibuster. Force your opponent to do one of those tough decisions. But we didn't do that. And so that's where the frustration I think comes from.
So for the latter two things that you said, they gave no indication whatsoever that they were even slightly bending on getting rid of the filibuster or making concessions around the tax credits. So that leaves us with the first one that you said, which is just let them drag this government shutdown out for as long as possible.
And they're being blamed for it.
I understand that. But we should be specific about what that means, because it's true that the courts compelled Trump to pay out the SNAP benefits from the emergency funds. Those emergency funds that we have is $4 billion. It costs $8 billion every month to fund SNAP. So those funds are going to dry up in 2 weeks or in a month if he does like half payments. And at that point, we are talking about 41 million people who are 130% under the poverty level that rely on these benefits, literally rely on these benefits to survive. And I feel like it is an insanely privileged position for, I'm not going to, assume anybody's situation, but I think, like we're all probably like, okay, I don't like, are any of us going to lose benefits because of the shutdown?
What do you mean by benefits? Like unemployment and SNAP?
Anything are you going to lose any benefits because of the government shutdown?
100. Just
you need to survive.
No.
Okay. I feel like it's really easy for us to be like, Democrats should hold the line and fight.
That's not relevant, Hutch. Whether or not we specifically as commentators are in the class of people who's being helped is irrelevant to the actual argument. You're just making an argument that like individuals who are privileged shouldn't be talking about this.
No. It's easy for you to make the case that these benefits should end when you're not relying on them to survive. That's my point.
It's easy for you to make the case when the premiums don't affect you because I don't know what the fuck. Like it's easy for you to make any case. Like what kind of argument is that? You're saying that like
if you don't
somehow. So if I were poor, so if I were really really poor and making this argument, what would you say? Assume that. Why are we getting into this and the specifics of you as like individuals? Why is that relevant to the argument?
That's fine, but I'd be very curious to know what everybody who relies on these benefits, how they feel about the shutdown. That's what I want to know.
This is like classic identity politics garbage.
Let me jump in because I know people that are on SNAP. I know people who work for the government who are being furloughed and actually they've been asked to come back to work without pay. So they're actually working for free right now. They're not even just getting put out of work and not getting paid. And these people are on board with, hey, yeah, this is hurting me, but ultimately I want this fight to win. Now, I don't know what the consensus is. Obviously, people are going to get hurt. But I mean, yeah, it is easier to say if it doesn't hurt you directly. In the same way, like Hutch, we could, throw it back from last week and be like, well, Hutch, it's easy for you to say, I'll vote for a pro-segregationist Dem to stop a Republican because you're not black. Like, yeah, but that doesn't mean your analysis of the situation is any less valid. It just means it's easier for you, which is true, but it doesn't invalidate your opinion.
Yeah, so it's literally irrelevant.
It's mostly irrelevant, but the question is like the ultimate question.
It's irrelevant.
Well, it's mostly irrelevant, but I think
what is the relevant? What is the relevance?
We're about to get into that. What the relevant part is, which is Hutch, you are correct on this, is how much are we willing to let the American people hurt to get this win? Because if we go indefinitely, if we don't say what is the consensus we're reaching to, and we don't know how long it's going to take, will we just let the Republicans lose and lose and lose and lose?
More specifically, people that are not
starve. Yeah,
more specifically, other people. This is a conversation about how far are we willing to go in terms of allowing other people to suffer so that we get a political win.
Because you're thinking in the short term. You're thinking, and this is why you'll always lose, and why Democrats who think this way will always lose. Is if all you're thinking about is the fight tomorrow is about what you're like, then you're never going to, in the long term, be able to resist Trump or be able to resist the authoritarianism because you're not playing the long game. You're not playing.
I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about the cost. I'm thinking about the actual cost of what does it look like when 41 million poor people lose benefits that they rely on to survive.
So if the Republicans conditioned, if Republicans conditioned, this is a hypothetical, okay? If Republicans conditioned reopening the government on eliminating entirely Medicaid, would you vote for that?
Hold on. I'm a little distracted by chat. Ask that question again.
If Republicans, hypothetically, not real, hypothetically, conditioned reopening the government on eliminating Medicaid entirely, would you vote for that?
No.
But 41 million people will fucking starve, Hutch. How dare you? How dare you do this?
You're talking about eliminating a program that millions of Americans rely on. So it's like,
we're kicking 17 million people
off Paul here. You know what I mean? That's not what we're dealing with right now, though. Those aren't the two options. We're not getting rid of Medicaid.
The point is, everyone has a line. Everyone has a line that where they're going to say, yeah, I'm going to fund this government or I'm not going to fund this government, and where I'm going to vote for something or not. You just said you had a line. And the question is, is this a justifiable line? And this is a line that Democrats should fall on. I thought when we went into this fight, we picked this issue specifically because we thought that it was worth fighting and dying on that hill. If that wasn't our position with respect to this issue, we should not have taken this fight. If we did not assess at time equals 0 that this was the fight worth having and this was the issue worth fighting on, why fight on it?
I am sympathetic to that argument. The argument that, and this is Pacman's argument too, he was arguing the same thing. Like, if you're not, why'd you even pick the fight in the first place? The reason I brought up before, I asked you guys, like, how many of you guys were made aware of the tax credits expiring? Was it everybody on this panel? Like, I don't know. The same question for everybody's chat that's currently watching. How many of you guys learned about this issue because of this shutdown? There is value in that. You can make the argument that the shutdown was not worth increasing awareness and salience, but there is value to that.
Okay, then take the deal after a week. This deal was available, or like in the first week. Who was going to give this deal over?
I'm sympathetic.
Or at least when you
argument too.
Okay, so yes. Like, the thing is, and once those premiums comes out, you can start fucking doing your media shit on it. Then take the deal in the first week. And why it almost justifies some of the Republican talking points of, like, they're letting this, like, if you're not willing to die for it, then it undermines your entire position staking this out.
You're not dying. You're not dying for it. You're sacrificing 41 million poor people. That's not you dying. That's other people dying.
Yeah, but also
so wait. I just want to. So we're gonna deal with this relevance point, okay? Hutch. Is it relevant?
What the dynamic?
Okay, you don't want to answer. You don't want to answer this question because keep going. So this is what Hutch is doing right now. Hutch is basically saying, instead of actually arguing the merits of should we do this or what the import of it, Pisco lives in New York City. Pisco is not poor, and so Pisco is elitist, and Pisco is entitled, and so you shouldn't listen to Pisco because Pisco's not the one fucking dying on the street. That's what you're trying to do right now, and that's why I'm taking it so aggressively.
I don't.
Wait. What is the relevance other than that to what you're saying?
There is a very real cost. We need to get away from the abstract and talk about the very real cost. And nobody's talking about that. Of all the people that are enraged on social media, I don't see anybody talking about what would have happened if this would have prolonged and then 41 million people just went from
Bernie Sanders. So Bernie Sanders isn't internalizing the cost. So wait. Bernie Sanders is doing that. Gavin Newsom is doing that. JB Pritzker is doing that. Hakeem Jeffries is doing that, and Chuck Schumer are doing that. Is that right? You think they're not internalizing the cost?
Isn't this an appeal?
They don't care about because they're rich, right?
Policy?
No.
Wait. You're making the argument. So I'm associating myself with all the base Democrats who are saying cowardice, bending the knee, and even Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer in their official position.
But you're not engaging in what I just said.
What am I not engaging with?
Because you're saying, oh, it's right because a bunch of people think it's right. I'm telling you, like, okay, if we have a discussion do it,
dude, no. What you're saying,
Wait. So Hutch, you said, going wrong. Did you say people are not talking about the cost of what will be affected if we continue the shutdown? Correct?
Yeah, I don't think people are talking about it enough. Like, some people are mentioning it in the abstract.
The leaders of this shutdown who voted no to end the shutdown are saying, we understand the consequences. People like Gavin Newsom and Pritzker and Schumer, especially Newsom, to my knowledge, is like, I'm going to personally alleviate those things because I think it's worth helping these people using resources that we shouldn't have to continue this fight. Right, Pisco?
Yes, essentially that this accusation of privilege, which is what Hutch is doing. Like, right now, it is clear. He's saying, Pisco, you don't understand the cost because you're not in the streets and you're not homeless. That's what Hutch is doing right now to me. And I'm saying, hang on a second, sorry, my headphones. If it's the case that the leaders of this movement are also, not on the streets, but they have the same position I do, would you make that same accusation to Gavin Newsom? Would you make that same accusation to Hakeem Jeffries? Would you make that same accusation?
It depends on what their position is. If their position is keep it going indefinitely, then yeah, I would say to every single one of those people, like, I don't know if it makes sense to fight for, what are we talking about? We're talking about, like, lowering healthcare for low to low middle income earners. And in that fight, we are willing to, strip benefits away from low income people.
So the dividing line between elitist, out of touch, not understanding the cost is my proposition that it be indefinite, even though you have no reason to think that Gavin Newsom or Pritzker had a different position and where they did not signal that they had an end date, because of course you wouldn't signal that if you were in a negotiation like this.
Right.
But that makes me out of touch, but not them out of touch.
You're getting so hung up on the out of touch thing.
Oh, no. You brought it up. You brought it up and hang on a second. So the relevance of that point of you're not poor, you're not the one starving. Tell me what the relevance of that is. It's basically saying you're out of touch and you're not internalizing the cost of the shutdown.
Because it's easier to offer up other people to have to make a sacrifice like this. That's my point.
Wait, why is that point relevant to whether or not what we should do? That it's easier. Yeah, I grant it. It's easier to offer up other people's suffering.
Okay.
That's true of everybody. But
Okay.
I'm sorry. What is the relevance of that point? It's not relevant.
Because it informs the larger discussion that's happening right now.
In what way? How does it make it more or less likely?
I am making the point that I think people should be talking more about the specific cost. That's what I'm saying.
You're making a point that the reason you're not talking about the government shutdown cost to me, the reason you're not doing that is because you're not on the streets. Isn't that what you're doing?
Bro, this is like 20 minutes of litigating your hurt feelings. Can we let some
All
other...
right, wait. Ryan Geddie
my
is the
God.
most neutral person. He's literally in the middle of all of us right now. Ryan, what are your thoughts on this?
I am. So I think Hutch is making an important point about there is a human cost to this. I mean, people will hurt the longer this goes on. At the same time, that's politics. To an extent, that's politics. People, and I want to be really careful about where we're putting the agency here, because to the extent that people are hurt by the shutdown, the Republicans could end it tomorrow. Their ideological commitment to the filibuster does not absolve them of responsibility for the fact that they control the government. I mean, in my opinion, I think that that's the case. So is there a point at which Democrats should say, like, no, your inability to run the government is hurting too much. We have to, reopen the government? Probably so. I don't know what that point is. The official position of the Democratic Party should be that will continue indefinitely.
And let me add to that.
That should be the public position. Otherwise, the Republicans will just hold starving people as a hostage every time.
Right. That's kind of my take on this, Hutch, is like, yes, I understand this. There's a human cost to this, but like with the agency of who are the people fighting not to pay SNAP? It's not Democrats because they're continuing the shutdown. It's the guy going to the Supreme Court and saying, make me not have to pay SNAP.
I understand
right?
that.
And I know you're not, I'm preaching the choir here, but my point is, this almost feels like the inverse of the Democrat blame graph, where it's like, why are we saying that, well, this is a human cost that the Democrats are imposing, and not, hey, we can continue to blame this on Republicans and they should have this held at their feet.
That's not my position.
Well,
just to be clear.
Well, sure. Okay.
I put the blame mostly on the Trump administration, but to the extent that Democrats have the power to make sure that 41 million people don't lose these benefits. And it's not just SNAP, by the way. There's also WIC for like single moms. There's also, we give out assistance to millions of people to pay their rent each month. We give out assistance to people to pay their energy bills each month. You also have like federal workers that are furloughed. I mean, this is so much bigger than just SNAP. Like if
so why would you vote no, Hutch? That's pretty privileged of you to vote. Wait, so I understand that you're not taking. Wait. I understand. I understand that you're not taking the position that you would do it indefinitely.
I'm really sorry.
Wait a second. So I understand you're not taking. Wait. I just want to make my point. So I understand you're taking. I understand that you're saying that.
He's sorry,
do it indefinitely. Wait, I want to finish the point.
Did you hear him say he's sorry? Yes or no?
I did hear it. Yes, I did hear it.
Back.
So,
I'm sorry.
Isn't it the case that if you were to vote no now, that's a privileged position, because even if it were for 2 or 3 weeks, you're not the one actually suffering, not having those benefits, right?
Well, you lost me. I don't understand the question.
Isn't that privileged? You're not actually internalizing the costs, since you said, right?
I'm a hypocrite. I'm sorry.
Good point.
Can I, Pisco, I want to call you out on something. You said something very dangerous, in my opinion. You said these guys were handpicked to be the guys who vote no. So you're implying that Chuck Schumer is not sincere, Hakeem Jeffries isn't sincere, that the entire Democratic Party... You're saying the entire Democratic Party is in on this no vote. No. So then what are you talking about when you say they were handpicked? What does that mean?
I'll tell you exactly what I mean. Tim Kaine said that there were more senators. Ryan Geddie just agreed that there's definitely more senators among the caucus who didn't vote this way, even though they agreed with that position. And Tim Kaine confirmed that there were people behind the scenes saying, we're glad that what you're doing. And so therefore, given the fact that there are significantly more, at least, and Tim Kaine was suggesting more senators who agreed with this position, and only the exact amount of people. What do you mean they're bullshitting? You think Tim Kaine's lying? Then
he could have been bullshitting.
Is Tim Kaine? Do you think Tim Kaine is lying?
I have no idea. I have no idea what he's saying. There could have been people behind the scenes that were almost there, that weren't there. But they were still no's.
Okay, I'm assuming Tim
I think
Kaine
it's
is
pretty
telling the truth.
convincing that like only 2 of the 8 are up for election like next year. I frankly, I think that there were definitely more. I think they put up these ones that are all like half of them are retiring, and then like 2 more aren't going to be up for election for another 6 years. And I
I
think
don't
like
think Pisco's alleging like a clandestine Democrat like scheme, right? It's more just like
No, I think that there
obviously
are
the
genuine
one.
senators and genuine reps who.
It's like it's like a textbook example of a rotating villain. I think that's obviously what's happening. I think the situation is that there's a ton of political pressure on the Democrats right now to prolong this fight from their base who want them to continue fighting. And I think a lot of senators recognize the perils of that kind of situation, and they were happy to let people that are not in any real danger of an immediate primary fall on the sword. I think that's obviously what's happening here.
That's what I mean by handpicked.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think the language is a little dangerous though, because it implies that there's some sort of like scheme going on. Like, well, I think they were just kind of maybe relieved then that these guys chose to vote yes, so they didn't have to. Because I think that happens a lot where people are like, well, I'm going to wait and see who votes one way or another, and then I'll decide how to vote. Maybe they would have been the deciding votes if these guys hadn't stepped forward, but these guys chose to, and I think that's the end of it. But you're implying that they're like, okay, I'm going to vote yes because I'm not up for re-election until 2030, so I can shoulder.
So I mean, that's true of Hutch then, because Hutch just described to you that that's genuinely what he think happened. That people,
I
don't think it's true of everyone.
Hutch, what are you doing, man? What the hell?
I think that's obviously what's happening here. I mean, like we
come on.
Exactly traded. We're never going to know exactly what was traded, but it wouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world if it was like, vote, take the hit on this one, and we'll make sure you have extra input on this next thing coming up. I mean, that's just how sometimes things work in Congress. It's unfortunate, but it's reality, I think.
And there's a lot of non-overlap in the Democrats who voted in favor of the CR in March. I noticed that Brian Schatz is not there. Kirsten Gillibrand isn't there. I even think some of the I think Ossoff voted no both. Maybe, I'm not sure.
Voted no.
Yeah. So, but like I notice that there's a lot of if you were to pick the most like optimal senators to vote this way, it would be these people. And I'm saying that a whole Senate is in on some.
Why not?
Grand conspiracy.
He's not up. Warnock's not up for re-election. He could have voted. I mean, I could make the case for a bunch of these guys. Could have been one of those votes.
Grand conspiracy orchestrated like by puppet master Chuck Schumer, but I'm certain that there were some overlapping, deals that were struck. You're going to vote for this, and we're going to, make sure that the DNC is not, maybe we're going to throw a little bit more money to some super PACs, in your re-election campaign. I don't know. I just don't think that it's. I don't know. I am almost certain that it was predetermined who was going to be the no.
Angus King said these guys weren't going to budge, and there was no moving them. The Republicans, there was no moving them any further. Nothing else would have helped. It was just going to make people suffer more. So what do you say?
So why don't you agree with it? Wait. So why don't you agree with him, Ira? You said
I'm just saying that's his reason, and I believe him. If he believes that, then I disagree. But I don't have all the facts in front of me. I don't know. I'm not a senator from Maine and listening to my constituents. I have no clue. But from my point of view, I think they could have kept fighting. I'm just saying, how do you respond to his argument? Do you think he just gave in, or he's?
Well, I think Angus King is, first of all, he was against this in the first place. So Angus King voted no. So when Angus King's like, wow, look at this amazing vote we got in the Republican-controlled Senate. Like, Angus King doesn't give a shit about this vote. He voted in favor of opening the government on the Republican package in the first vote. And so one is, I think, he's even like laughing when he says, I think it's a 50-50 that this eventually passes the Democrat-written bill. He chuckles through it because he can't actually, like, it's so preposterous, that notion. So first of all, Angus King's, his own determinations, I think, are questionable. But on the issue of whether the Republicans would have ultimately bended, I'm not sure they would have. But that's why you pick an issue that's so important and so critical at the start that you are willing to, have that be your bottom line. Don't pick a bottom line if you're not willing to stick to it. And I'll even grant you this: if it were the case that this were the optimal time to drop it, and this were the optimal time to sign on to this, signaling vote that means nothing, then why isn't the doling out of this policy better PR strategize? Why isn't the case that we have more uniformity? Why are we in a situation where you have the leading candidates for Maine Senate, right? Like Plattner and Mills both saying it is a fucking cave. Newsom, cave, cowardly, he says. Pritzker, cowardly, cave. Why is it the case that our leading candidates are all saying the worst possible things on it? That doesn't seem like a good strategy, even if this were the optimal time to drop the fight. And if it's the case, sorry, one last thing. If it's the case that, like as Hutch said, that it's this fear of the base, and I think that some of that is true, and this fear of their own voters, what does that tell us about the disconnect between the leadership and the voter? That just confirms it, and it confirms that they don't feel they can be honest to their voter.
I mean, that's
wait, real quick. Let me just add one thing, and that's, what is the signal to the Republicans? It's, hey, if you give indications that you won't budge, no matter how much you're hurting, the SNAP recipients, the WIC recipients, whatever, then Democrats will just eventually fold. There's no point in ever standing to any fight, because all you have to do is just say no over and over, no matter how much it hurts your credibility, no matter how much it hurts your polling, no matter how much it makes Donald Trump say he's going to get rid of the filibuster. Doesn't matter. Eventually, Democrats are going to fold. You can make people hurt for as long as you want. Like, what is that signal? It's like, okay, well, we just negotiated with the terrorist or whatever allegory you want to use. Like, why ever fight ever against the Republicans ever if they're never going to budge? They just will say no, and eventually enough senators will be like, well, they said they weren't going to do anything, so we just decided to vote no.
And it's not your fault, Hutch and I know you guys are looking at silver linings. I know, and I think that there is a lot of benefit to what's going on. It is so frustrating as someone who was so ecstatic and happy about every side of the Democratic Party doing well on Tuesday, to have this sort of put out in the middle of the night on the weekend, and to have this just with no coordination, and seemingly, even if it isn't strategized at some level of leadership where you have the whip, right? The Democratic whip is one of the leaders, Dick Durbin from Illinois. It feels that way. And they must have known this would have. So that's where the frustration is coming from. And so I'm not trying to make it personal, but
I understand. I'll just say, when I saw that the deal was made, I thought we just won the midterms, because there'll be no subsidies and people are going to get fucked and they're going to be pissed. And we just won the midterms. That's how I see it.
Anyway, right?
I think we came out better for having done this. I just wish we held out a little longer.
That's literally my exact position, by the way.
I think we all agree on that.
Yeah. So to piggyback off of what IRI is saying right now, we're framing this. I think we're only thinking about the short term, the PR hit, the appearance of fecklessness or weakness. Okay, that's fine. I guess that's a W for Donald Trump for the next news cycle, a week, 2 weeks. How long are people going to be talking about this? But what's the reality of the situation? They just got creamed by margins that we haven't seen since fucking 2008 in terms of the overperformance. The numbers that came out of last Tuesday you have to go back almost 2 decades to get that kind of overperformance. And the reality is that these cuts are going to happen. And to Ryan's point, I think they were always going to happen. I think I even expressed on this podcast a couple times, I don't know how realistic it is to expect that we're going to get these full tax credits back. I just don't know if the Republicans are going to play ball. Maybe I thought maybe we might get maybe half of the subsidy. I don't really know, a quarter, just something. But this always this feels like this, we were always headed to this outcome at some point or another. And the reality is these premium spikes are going to impact tens of millions of people in January. And the Republicans right now are in charge of government. And anybody who thinks that Donald Trump is going to be able to fool the public about who's to blame for these subsidies going up, that is one of the most online takes I've ever heard in my life. This is something that is just a truism, just across the board when it comes to politics. Anytime there's economic hardship, a massive event where a lot of people experience economic hardship, they always blame the party in power.
But Hutch, he's going to give us the $2,000 tariff checks. He's the money president now. Do you don't think that's going to sway anyone?
Ironically, that is one of the most dangerous recent developments in American politics. I mean, this is one of the classic democracy failure states. People smear welfare as people are
it's
just
a handout. Yeah.
It's gonna spiral into infinity. But this is of a fundamentally different kind than what we do with normal welfare or direct benefits to people. Arbitrarily looting the American people through tariffs imposed directly by the president and then using that money to send checks to buy loyalty. I mean, this is actually a remarkably bad development for American democracy.
I was going to say, you got to say the line, Ryan, which is, this is incredibly dangerous to democracy.
Oh, yeah, the Sinclair news line. No one's talking about the real silver lining of ending the shutdown, which is we get to do Epstein discourse again when the House.
That's true. You could have sold me on that, though.
Like,
are we going to approve that last House member? We're going to get the Epstein vote?
I think
she's going to get sworn in.
They have to. That's why they've been holding the House out of session, which is in itself an incredibly unprecedented thing. The idea that, in theory, the second or third most powerful person in the United States government, the Speaker of the House, just chooses to not call his own branch together to meet, to have power, is crazy. I mean, that is crazy. And I wish that registered as bad to more people. I understand why it doesn't, since, we're not all so institutional pilled, but it is really bad.
It's a great point. Like the notion of this Madisonian check power within the federal government has completely collapsed. And except in some of these key areas, like I think probably tariffs, even though on tariffs, the Republican Congress isn't willing to like do a negative vote on it, but they're not going to actively promote it. And similar thing, I think, on the filibuster. But other than those like key few areas, it doesn't seem like there's, or the walls that existed between the executive branch and the legislative branch are crumbling, and it's partisan that's sort of winning the day, as opposed to these delineated branches of government.
Well, I mentioned that.
Charles first. Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, as we mentioned this, when I talked to Newsom, I said, isn't the real issue of the shutdown, shouldn't it be, hey, we can't approve any spending bill until you promise us that Trump is actually going to spend it the way that Congress has allocated it? And he said, yeah, that is the main issue, but that's not resonant with voters. It's not as politically salient. So we have to do it about healthcare, which is still important. But the main issue is, well, does Congress even fucking matter anymore? And like the caving here, kind of makes me feel like I really do wish we would fight on that. But I understand you can't message that to the American people, and it's very important that, like, yeah, we don't know if we really have three branches of government anymore, and it's kind of eroding. But go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
Oh no, Hutch, you were trying to get in.
No, I mean, I wanted to piggyback off of, like, I want to go back to what I was saying before, which is that I disagree with the vote last night. And one of the reasons why, like we already discussed, was like, I do think this should have been stretched out a little bit longer. I think my red line is just when people stop losing that critical, those benefits. That's just, I don't think like that is like the obvious morally correct decision either. Like it might be correct to stretch that out because there could be some bigger gain down the line. And if somebody wanted to make that argument, I could be persuaded. It's just, that's just like where I go.
41 million people off SNAP was the only way to beat Trump.
Fuck, bro. Fuck.
Should be easy, man.
As always,
what do you mean? That's an easy yes, right?
As always, the calculation is like, what's going to do more harm? And so, like, I'd have to like really think about that. But yeah, I mean, you would
take fascism over mass starvation.
Yeah, these are tough.
Seriously, Hutch. I don't know. I'd sacrifice 41 million. I'd sacrifice 50 million SNAP recipients.
These are
I'd
tough.
kidnap 1,000 children to stop fascism.
The point is like, these are not straightforward calculations. This is not a science. And so I think, like, to kind of get back to like where I think the Democrats went wrong on this, it is insane to me that it's like, okay, fine. If there was backroom deals and you pick these senators to be the ones to fall on the sword, like, I'm not morally offended by that. That just seems like kind of standard politics to me or whatever. I mean, but the ones that they did pick did just about the worst job you could possibly imagine in terms of making that case. Like that Angus King line, I don't even think what he said was
wasn't working. It wasn't working.
I don't even think what he said was technically wrong, but it was so politically stupid to have him be that person to go out there and do that. I think that does signal weakness. There was another person, there were like two other people that did a press conference today. And I just think that there should have been a more coherent plan in terms of how to navigate the messaging. Or I think maybe you could have even been straightforward about like, look, we really want to raise the awareness of this issue. It's really difficult to imagine Donald Trump, giving concessions here, but we want to inform as many people as possible. Like maybe you could have even been straightforward about that to begin with. Like, I don't know.
Well,
better political minds, but
there's no guarantee this is going to pass in the House. By the way, they could run into some troubles over there.
I don't think so. But so Schumer should step down, right?
They can only lose 2 votes
before we light a new fire. Before we light the fire, Chatter was talking about, and maybe you guys know more about this, that Mike Johnson was considering not even taking the vote. Did you see something about that? Because I had
the ACA
on the ACA stuff. Yeah, yeah, because and everyone knows it. That's why this it's a nothing. It's saying we're getting nothing. It's not a deal at all. It's
hold on. Let's not count out the ACA subsidy extension here. So the Democrats have been given a guarantee of a vote by the second week of December. That might get some momentum going. There are Republicans that want to see these ACA subsidies extended. And I don't think it's an impossible thing for that to pass. And then the Republicans in the Senate have so much pressure, or Republicans in the House feel pressured to do something. I mean, Mike Johnson said we got to do something about these ACA subsidies, but we got to negotiate after the government's open. So, I mean, people are just acting like it's dead. I wouldn't be so sure.
I think that's delusional. I don't know.
I think it's delusional.
Delusional.
I mean, you're talking about people on policy grounds who cut Medicaid by like $800 billion to pay for their tax cuts. These are people who ran on destroying the ACA, and now out of the head of Zeus, they're gonna fucking fund it more. I don't think so.
Why did Mike Johnson and Trump say, "Yeah, we got to do something about that"? Then
because they're
liars.
There's a couple senators who will vote for it. There's a couple Republican senators who will vote for it, but it will not be enough.
Yeah, and if they were serious about voting for it at all, why wouldn't they say, "Okay, cool, let's vote for an extension right now and end the shutdown"? Right?
Like I said, a big chunk of people who took advantage of those subsidies in the last few years are in red states and are conservatives. I mean,
who the fuck's audience? Whose is that? That chatter right there. What the fuck?
Which chatter? I don't know.
Yeah, you're gonna have to be a little more specific.
It might be my free speech chat.
Is it cosmic something? Who the fuck? Yeah, Cosmic Milarepa. I've never been so triggered in my entire life.
Cosmic.
Wait, where is it?
I don't see him. I don't see him.
Keep going down.
Get him up there.
Oh boy, he's in mine. He's in mine. Leave him alone.
God,
no, we were here for the
killed Obamacare last night. There's a lot of fucking. I feel like I genuinely feel like majority of people that are screaming about this online don't actually know what happened last night. That's my sense of things, because that's not what that is. Not what
I think that is like. So you want to talk about out of touch? I don't think that's like, of the people who are commenting on it. You don't think they know enough to be critical on what's going on?
I've just seen a lot of takes, like, I saw so many takes of people saying Democrats voted to take away your health care last night, and that's not what happened. Wow. That's not what happened.
Okay. I think it is really important that we don't lose the impetus of whose fault this all is. Yeah, I mean, it is the Republicans fundamentally who are in charge of all three branches of government. And if it's their fault. And this is why I don't feel so bad about saying, like, we should have, kept it going for as long as I think my line to reopen the government, I think it would have been a guaranteed vote in both houses. I don't think that was unreachable. I think that was reachable. And I think that the fact that we couldn't get to that was a disappointment.
Especially because you do have more runway here. Even if you accept that SNAP funding would have run out in 2 months or something, there's more runway. And so at least on the SNAP stuff, so if that's your bottom line, is when contingency funds run out for SNAP, then I think that you have more runway here. But more to the point, given the colossal failure of Schumer to keep his caucus in line for his position, he should resign, shouldn't he?
But here's the thing, Pisco, it doesn't, like, the SNAP cards don't get loaded the day after the government opens. It takes time. It could take weeks to get the SNAP program back going.
Sure, but you don't think we had a month? Like, we have what, like $5 to $6 billion in contingency funds.
That's 2 weeks. They said that's 2 weeks. Like Hutch
right,
said.
So then you grant that there's more runway. You grant that there's two more weeks of runway.
But that's already ran out in November. So that $4.5 billion was for the first 2 weeks of November, or 2 weeks whenever it starts.
So then I don't actually understand why you're against the vote, IRA. I mean, like, I hear you say that you're against it, but then you're like, they had to do it now or SNAP was going to run out. And so I'm not understanding what's the basis for you saying that you're against it.
I'm just steel manning their argument. I still think the fight was worth it for those ACA subsidies because it's going to affect all of our insurance premiums across America, even if we're not on through getting insurance through the ACA. But I'm trying to understand where those 8 senators are coming from instead of just saying that they folded like cheap suits and they're weak and they're pathetic. I'm trying to actually understand where they're coming from. Like, I don't think Tim Kaine is just some scrub. Like, this guy is a serious player in the Senate. And if he represents the state of Virginia, you know, a state with a lot of federal workers. And I think like people are just discounting their reasoning for why they did because maybe they gave a bad speech or something. But I think these guys had genuine concerns.
Schumer wasn't convinced if you take his official position. So if Schumer wasn't convinced, he should resign, shouldn't he? Since he wasn't able to keep his caucus in line as leader.
Schumer should resign because he's lost the confidence of the party. That's why he should resign. It's good for. Yeah. It's good for the party. Like, I feel like if he resigned, literally internally, the numbers would go up like 20 points immediately.
I agree
because it would look like. Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
Oh no, I agree with that take fully. No, sorry, my bad. I'm jumping in.
No, go ahead, jump right in.
Biden stepping down moment where everyone's like, "Holy shit, somebody knew." You remember that was the best week of our lives that last year, and I think we can recreate that.
Believe in him. I mean, that's it. I mean, I don't really think that this is any different from any. I mean, frankly, if anything, him voting no on this, I feel like would be, you know, like good, right? I mean, like, you know, that's like more of what we want to see from leadership if you're of the mind that we want a leadership with some more fight in him. But I think he needs to go because exactly what Hutch said, he's lost the confidence of.
So all right, what's your holdout? Why are you, what would it take for you to say Schumer needs to step down? Him coming out and saying that he wants to step down? Like what is the thing that
but the thing that gives me pause is who's going to replace him?
Cory
Booker?
There's so
Van Hollen.
Chris Murphy's not going to replace him. Come on.
He can, he should, he would do better. And so would Van Hollen.
You don't
He's
think
not in a high leadership position though? Like the order
I
is.
Don't give a shit about seniority, and you shouldn't either.
Because but there's a reason why these people are in leadership positions, because they have the confidence of the caucus and they know what they're doing in the leadership position. So if you think Chuck Schumer's bad, wait till you see the next guy. They're probably a million times worse.
Guy, you don't. Oh, go ahead, Ron.
Dismiss that because the Republicans started down this train in the 90s, actually, whenever they started throwing out their leadership because they wanted more aggressive opposition. And they basically haven't stopped for 30 years. Like every once in a while, they will get a new group of people who comes in and demands, you know, more aggressive opposition. They'll throw out an old leader. You know, it started with like Newt Gingrich, and then he himself got thrown out. And then, you know, we just kind of kept going on this for like 30 years. So I definitely don't want Democrats to spiral down that way. So it's not an unreasonable concern, just to IRI's point. I do think that Schumer in this case does need to step down, though. I think it's that bad.
He is causing he is, you know, whatever you think about his leadership, you know, that's not really a factor in the calculation whatsoever. But him being in that role is divisive right now. It is dividing the party. There's a lot of animosity. To a lesser extent, there's animosity to Jeffries, but it seems like the bulk of the animosity is being directed at Schumer. I think he just represents what in many people's minds are the gerontocracy. He represents a kind of old guard that a lot of Democratic voters want to get rid of after being burned by Biden. Frankly, they were burned by Biden. And I think it's just the right thing to do because it's a selfless act, just the same as, like, I didn't have any doubts that Biden could have served another term and been a good president and done fine. I didn't have the same, like when he had the bad night on the debate stage, I wasn't thinking like, oh my God, he can't be president. I was thinking, oh my God, he might have just lost the confidence of the entire party. And I think we're just well beyond that point with Schumer. And I think that he needs to, he should do the right thing and be selfless in this moment.
You wanted to jump in here. What were you saying?
Well, I was going to say, how many Democrats even know who Schumer is? I feel like it's a much smaller number than you think. Like it's, you know, most people have no clue who these people are. They don't know who Hakeem Jeffries is, nothing. So when you say that he's dividing our party, I feel like he's dividing a segment of the internet.
No, look at his approval ratings. He's got the worst approval. He's got like 23% approval ratings. I mean, it's really fucking bad.
I'd love to see how many people on those polls say who.
But you don't actually think
Chuck Schumer. Like,
you know what I mean? God, no, dude, what would it take? What would it take? Would it have to be 2% approval?
Let me just say, hold on. You don't actually think that he's the only one that could be Senate leader, right? Like that's very Trumpy.
Of course
that's very Trumpy.
Of course not.
There's plenty. There's plenty of people that could step up and fill his shoes and be a good leader.
If he dies, we just have to dissolve the Democratic Party.
Yeah, we're done.
We can't go on.
True. No.
Wait, last thing to throw on the fire, guys. Do you think he voted for Mamdani? He wouldn't tell us.
Fuck no. He voted for Cuomo. Come on. This is so obvious. You guys, listen, I respect Schumer for what they were able to accomplish under different Democratic presidents. I respect Pelosi. She's retiring for their accomplishments under Biden. I'm not doing this from an ideological perspective. He's too old.
But
He's too out of touch. He can't do the job anymore.
Whatever he did,
logical perspective.
the fact that we're not going to get the ACA subsidies.
Ryan,
Oh wait, Ryan's trying to say.
Ryan, you go.
My bad, I didn't hear him.
No, you're good. It cut out. Go ahead, IRI, then Ryan.
Oh, I was gonna say, no matter what you think of Schumer right now, it looks most likely we're not going to extend the ACA subsidies now because of everything that happened, which means we win the midterms, man. So like, you should be almost thanking him for like stupidly causing.
It'll be in
all
spite
this
of him, though. That's what I mean. Like, I see missed opportunity. Sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah.
I think Schumer, you said you're not doing it from an ideological perspective. I am. I think Schumer is a representative of a horrible brand of liberalism. Well, I shouldn't say horrible. I think it worked in a different era.
Watch. You know what show you're on, Ryan?
I think it worked in a different era. I think this is sort of a main topic of the video that I made about Ezra Klein. It was really about modern liberalism, but I used Ezra Klein as sort of a vector for it. And I think Schumer is one of the other incarnations of this brand of liberalism that came into existence during a time when there was a broad shared agreement on the principles of liberal democracy. I think we're not there anymore. Unfortunately, I wish we were. I think we need someone who understands what page we're on as a party.
I want to gas you up a bit because wait, hold on. I just heard feedback. What was that? I was echoing, I think.
It happened a couple times on Ryan's. But before you gas him up, because we're going to do all the Ryan started early on the shameless self-promotion. I want to end on a good uniting note because we did well in the beginning. We had our little spats. Let's sandwich. No. I'm not saying we're going to turn it off after this. After this, we're going to gas each other up. We're going to promote. Yeah, Hutch?
No, but hold on. I just want, before we do that, literally, I don't think it'll take very long, but.
Okay, go ahead.
So Ryan, your video got me to like really pause and think about things in a way that I hadn't done before. So like, I thought your script, your writing, your delivery was just fucking phenomenal. So if you guys haven't actually seen his content, check him out. I think it's a really good watch, but I want you to just sort of briefly articulate, because I don't want to end on just, it shouldn't be Schumer. Like, I want you to talk about like what qualities you want to see in the next Senate majority leader.
I think the qualities, so it's going to need to be someone with experience for sure. It's going to need to be someone who knows how to run in the Senate. So I want to see someone who's won multiple terms. That's first. Second, I want to see someone who understands that there is an anti-democratic, not in the sense of the Democratic Party, but anti-democracy wing of the Republican Party that is not just confined to, the Fuentes's of the world.
Yep.
It's in the Senate. I mean, Eric Schmidt was up there talking. He was giving a white nationalist speech at like a NatCon event. And, if you look at these senators' speeches at the NatCon conference or the Claremont Institute or any of these affiliated kind of think tanks, it's white nationalism, Christian nationalism, anti-liberal in the sense of anti-liberal democracy. So we need a Senate majority leader who understands that no matter how much you hang out with these guys, they are not, they might be your friend, but they're not friends to the people that you represent. So we need someone who understands that. I think we need someone who is committed. I mean, this is just me talking personally now, but I think we need someone who is committed to the ideas of liberalism as not just a means of creating a smooth playing surface for politics, but committed to them as actual goals, valuing liberty and equality and self-government for their own sakes, rather than just because they create a nice playing surface for policy wonks. And so I know I'm being non-specific here, and I know you're probably going to press me to be more specific. I think it's going to take someone who is more progressive than Schumer, but is seen as more reasonable. Like, I don't know if it would be Chris Murphy, but someone like Chris Murphy, I think could fill this role. I don't know if it could be him specifically, but someone who fills that role of like seen as more progressive, but also not Bernie Sanders.
It can't be somebody that the burning wing of the party would like spam snake emojis if they saw him speaking at an event or something
That's
like
why I
that.
think
Like, it has
Murphy's
to be-
great. Murphy's a realist. He's progressive. He's in many ways inoffensive, but he also understands that fascist element, the anti-liberal democracy element that Ryan spoke to, probably more than any other senator that I can think of. He has like weekly, I don't know if it's weekly, but at least regular like fireside chats where he's breaking down like, this isn't really about this, it's about that. And so he gets you out of the thinking of taking on face value the framing of MAGA Republicans, that this is actually about what they're saying, and takes a step back and looks at the corruption behind everything. And I think that that is invaluable. This kind of like seeing the forest and not just the individual trees. I think that that's why I support Chris Murphy the best, and he's just been a consistent voice on everything, including, by the way, this vote.
Soy Pill, I know you have a heart out, so we should probably.
I do have a heart out. So
yeah.
real quick, uniting thing that I wanted to show, because someone did share this in chat, and let me see here, right here. This is I hope this oh no, also share system audio. Let's go. No one make any noise because it's going to echo. But this is Donald Trump getting booed at the Commanders game. I think that's great. I just think I like every time someone pops in and reminds him that he is in an insulated MAGA cult that jerks him off, and when he goes outside, people fucking hate him.
He is weak, man. He is a dying brand. Like, we are watching the death rattles here. But, yeah.
All right. Yeah, I have a heart out. I'm about to go talk to Rob Schneider at TPUSA at Berkeley. Guys,
Rob Schneider, Rob Schneider, the guy?
Rob Schneider. Can anyone what should I ask him about, guys? I mean, he doesn't believe in.
What's it like working with Adam Sandler?
Vaccines. Yeah, what's it like working? Oh, that's so lame. He has an estranged daughter. I feel like there's so many things I could ask him, but I might not get much time. I don't know if you guys have any ideas.
Oh, that's crazy.
I'm so just floored that you're actually going to be debating Rob Schneider. That my mind is blank.
Well, don't gas me up too. I'll probably be in one of those stupid college kid lines, and I'll get like my press pass will take me to the front because for some reason I get a press pass because I know the.
You have a press pass?
Because I know the head of TPUSA at Berkeley. I bought him lunch. You know, schmoozing gets you somewhere. But yeah, if you guys think of anything, in the meantime, Ryan, we glazed you a little. Let's glaze you a lot. People love you. The chatters love you. Maybe even a potential host at some point when Pisco has a heart attack from the Hutch.
Maybe a Senate Majority Leader at some point. Yeah,
maybe Senate Majority Leader.
I would actually unironically support Ryan as Senate Majority Leader over Chuck Schumer.
Hell yeah. All right. But yeah, go check out Ryan's videos. I will take credit for glazing him first, but we can all glaze him now. It'll be a big circle jerk glaze. His link's in the description. Oh,
I really appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you so much. Thank you, Hutch, for having me on your stream. It was fantastic chatting with you. It was super fun. Several of your fans came by and left very nice comments, and that's very nice. I think it speaks highly of the community that you've created.
Awesome. Yeah.
Guy, what's going on?
Not much. I was just in Paris doing my side gig, being a rock star on the side, so that was cool. But back to reality, back to the debates on TikTok. So exciting stuff.
Paris is imaginary. I agree. Hutch, what's going on with you?
It's just so funny that IRI has this like whole other like literal rock star life that he does, and he just like Ryan. Are you familiar with the lore here?
I have heard this. Yes.
Yes.
He's doing all the side quests.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll be streaming this week. I'm sure I'll be arguing with a lot of people in my chat. Pisco, maybe we can fucking fight sometime this week.
Yeah.
And yeah, we start the streams at 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, twitch.tv/Hutch, youtube.com/Hutch.
And you said Ryan gave you pause, but I don't know if that's a compliment because I was watching your stream and you pause every 10 seconds. I don't think you ever get through a video. So.
No, you were,
I'm joking. Yeah, he gave you things to think about. Yeah. Pisco, you have a thing after with non-fun, right?
Yes.
You're doing a debate against those two
on Sarah Tomato channel. But you can find it on my channel too. So I'll be streaming in like 20 minutes. I'll go live on my channel. You can watch it on mine because that's where the fun shit happens.
What's the debate topic?
Nice.
I think it's like whether the left has abandoned the basic moral it's some stupid as fuck prompt.
It's always a dumb prompt. It's like, should women have rights? Like, why are we debating this?
Yeah, but whatever it is, I'm there to rep and be like, yeah, the Democrats are not like abandoning the moral proposition of America, and you'll see why if you care about the debate. And on the other side will be the Gen Z attorney and Ryan Mullally, who are
Literally,
love
as
them, mean them, but
inflexible
like
as they
fucking
look,
annoying.
they will bend
Yeah.
over backwards for literally any Trump decision.
Any amount
So
of Trump.
trust them on that, please.
Yeah, but yeah, so I'm doing that, and also just a fucking disclaimer for everything. I love Hutch. I love IRI. Hutch is my boy. IRI is my guy. And like,
this is
get-
Trump Pisco. It's like just nothing. Like Hutch, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's a total failure. He's always wrong.
No, I
but we love Hutch, don't we?
This is a way.
Did you tell Ryan that we get frisky around here? Did you warn him that we get spicy? Okay, all right. Just so.
Nice. You guys have a nice opinions on here. I don't know where I fit into this like spectrum, but it's very nice. I like it. You know, and you've got sort of Soy and Pisco on this side of the screen. You've got IRI on that side of the screen. It's very nice. I like it.
No. I think it's actually a little bit weird sometimes ideologically, because I don't know that I'm like quote unquote more progressive in an ideological sense than IRI or Hutch. I think it more about like our like favorite tactics and who we would want to associate with, that kind of thing. And I don't know that there's, but I do think that there's some kind of divide, whatever that is. But I don't know that it's ideological. But I appreciate that that's palpable. But yeah, I love these guys. Love Hutch, love IRI. It's all just, you know, genuine frustration, genuine debate, but it's not personal.
It's because we care.
I'll just say I appreciate you saying that, Pisco. And yeah, I think we have the same goals, just some different ideas how to get there for sure. But yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Of course, I love you too, buddy.
We all love each other here. This is a great out. Thank you all for loving and libbing. We should just call it live and love. We're not learning. We're loving each other.
One of the names was what we were floating was it Lib Laugh Love or something like that?
That would have been horrible. Oh my god.
That's what I was pushing for. I thought it was
better. If you don't have the sign, put that sign up behind you. You need the little Lib Laugh Love with all the other ones. I'm gonna make it if you don't.
You can do it. It's fine.
Yeah, you can have that one.
You take it.
Guys, thank you all.
Wait, Ryan, you were saying.
Oh, Ryan, go ahead.
No, that's a good merch idea. You should sell like Lib Laugh Love signs.
True. We'll get on that.
That's true.
All right, guys.
We will get on that, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Good luck on all our endeavors this week. If I don't make it back from this TPUSA event, Ryan, you can have my spot.
Hey, stay cool.
Good luck, buddy.
Have a great night, everybody.
Later.